Hi there. If you are watching on catch up, just scroll through 3 minutes or so. And if you are here now live, I will be back with you in just 3 minutes. Thank you. A very good afternoon to you. It's Friday. It's 4:30, which can only mean one thing, which is that it is high time for the first Advent YouTube Live of 2021. Welcome, whether you are in South Africa or South Shields or South Norfolk or North somewhere. It is so lovely to have you with us, whether you're here for the first time or whether you are an old timer like me. This particular series, of course, goes hand in hand with my Advent email series. So if you're not subscribing to that, please do. You can sign up at briandraper.org. But you're so welcome here, whether you have subscribed or not. We tend to start these series just by saying, "Here I am," and it's a way of just noticing kind of where we are and how we are, but also hearing from others too via the chat. Don't worry if you're not able to use the chat. Just enjoy seeing other people use it, and just speak out your responses if you can't. But it'd be wonderful as we gather for this series of Advent YouTubes and with the emails, to just say, "Here I am," and "Here we are." So for a moment, just as we begin, perhaps you would just be still, be quiet, take a breath. Notice where you are. Just have a look around for a moment. And notice how you are. And I just notice kind of whether there's any tension in your body, what your day's been like, how you're feeling about Advent, where we find you just right now. And in this quietness, just speak, whisper your "Here I am." Just speak out "Here I am" to this moment, to God within it, and to the season of Advent, to kind of where you are. And now, if you can use the chat, it would be wonderful if you'd write down, as we do traditionally at the start of these series, "Here I am, ... and then a word or a phrase or just a sentence to describe where we find you, full of anticipation or knackered or confused or close to God, or just whatever it may be. It'd just be lovely to see. And remember, there's no right answer to this. This is simply an expression of where we are as a community, in our honesty, in our brokenness, just in any way at all, from the States to South Africa to Britain to Europe and wherever else you might be in the world this afternoon. Here I am, waiting in anticipation, a little subdued, quietly and expectantly, grateful, settling, emotionally mangled. Thank you. Here I am, and great to be back with everyone, grateful to be here, thankful in stillness, weary. Excited for the weekend, weary but hopeful, tired. Here I am by my dying aunt's bedside, emotionally broken. Michelle, sending you particular love and standing with you across the miles this afternoon in that holy and precious moment with your aunt. Mixed emotions, full of hope, biffed and battered, but grateful to be here. Well, it seems that lots of people are feeling tired this afternoon, so let's just let's settle in and be tired but expectant together. I'm going to light a candle, and talking about "Here I am," and keep those coming. We thought about presence this morning, didn't we? And and how it's sometimes traced through the contours of absence as well. So I want to light this candle to give thanks for the presence, God with us, who we remember in particular at Advent, but also as well, remembering perhaps someone who has graced your life with presence, whether they're still with us or not. And of course, they can still bring us light, even when they have sort of left the stage, as we mentioned this morning. I'm going to put this up here. We'll let that shine for them. You might like to just be grateful for the presence of that person for a moment as that candle burns for them. And if you'd like to pop the name of somebody that you're grateful for, whether they are still with us or not, but you know, their light still kind of carries to you, and pop their name in the chat, or just speak a name out loud for a moment as we remember those people who have graced us with their presence and perhaps still do in absence. Thank you. Peggy, Dee, your sisters, Jackie, Ruth, Kevin, John, Sarah, Jeffrey, Isabel, Bob, your father, Sarah, Aunt Lucy, Tina, Gaynor, Maureen, faithful servant Bridget, who passed too early on Monday, Paul. Thank you. We carry these people in our hearts, and as we think this Advent about presence, how grateful are we for just the extraordinary presence of those who travel with us, those we're separated from, those who have gone but are still with us, and of course God's presence. Your late husband Nigel, who would have been 73 today, Jane, we are really sending you love. Thank you for joining us on this day. We're thinking of you. Peace be with you. Keep those names coming if you would like, please. As we sort of settle in a little further, I suggested a breath prayer on Monday, and perhaps we could use it now just to help us collectively enter the Advent space together. So perhaps I could invite you, you might like to close your eyes again, or just look into the distance, but take a few slower, deeper breaths and try to breathe in through your nose if you can. So much better for us if you're able to do the nose breathing. So nice deep breath in now through your nose, and on the out breath just whispering, "Oh come, oh come." And breathing in and breathing out, "Oh come, oh come." And breathing in and breathing out, "Oh come, oh come." And this time breathing in the word Emmanuel. Don't have to say it, it's hard to do that when you're breathing in, but just Emmanuel. "Oh come, oh come." Emmanuel. And just keep that going. And whether you're somebody who's just so confident of the presence of Emmanuel, or whether you're somebody who feels just perplexed or distant or whatever it is, just let your breath be a prayer in this moment. "Oh come, oh come, Emmanuel." And just carry that on in silence for a few seconds now together as a community. Okay. Okay. There's that sense, of course, that he has already come and that he will come again. but also that he is kind of coming now in this moment. We can look for him in so many different ways, can't we? Through the people that we meet, through the wonders of creation, the kind of the shimmering stars and planets that are just coming into view now, through that sense of presence within us, perhaps. So becoming aware of Emmanuel's constant arrival with us, through us, in us. O come, Emmanuel. O come, Emmanuel. Great to see you there, Eileen, in Cork. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Why don't we look back on the week? Each week we'll take a few moments to look back on the week, to gather up the reflections, as well as to pause for space and to wait and watch in Advent. So we started on Wednesday with me eulogizing about the Advent skies painted in the blues and pinks and greys and golds of early winter, and I properly put the kibosh on it because it was thick grey cloud on Wednesday morning, which was inevitable, really. But haven't they been beautiful, the skies? I hope they have been where you are, and I really do feel at this time of year in particular those skies kind of herald something. I love to imagine that they are saying, prepare the way, O come, O come. It's almost as though I love to think there's perhaps a repository of memory of creation, remembering the Christ event, the nativity, all those years ago, as well as anticipating, groaning in anticipation for more to be fulfilled, for all things to be renewed, which is especially pertinent at the moment, isn't it, with climate crisis. I mentioned that it can be a hard time of year and the build-up is fraught, but there's an alternative to kind of adopting the brace position, which is to yield to the embrace that lies at the heart of life. And excuse me, it was funny, two people that I was speaking to this week both said when I read that I was thinking, well, I'm not braced, and yet actually when they came to pause to notice, they realized that they really were, that they were tense, that they were kind of in that defensive position, and how good it was for them to yield instead. Several people have said that to me now. So why don't we just for a moment, going back into that reflection, pause. You might like to close your eyes again, just literally for a few seconds, to relax your body further, to take some more slower, deeper breaths. You might like to open your hands and simply for a moment, let the quality of this moment shift from brace to embrace as you sit openly, just for a few seconds. I wonder what it is that shifts in us as we do that, but may we indeed yield to the embrace as we step into Advent and all that it might hold for us. On Thursday, we touched on those beautiful words of Job, didn't we? I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end he will stand on the earth. And after my skin has been destroyed, yet in my flesh I will see God. And I know Job is a tough book to get into, an often perplexing book. But it struck me very, very simply, really, how beautiful it is that in the oldest book in the Bible, the book that was kind of written kind of first in terms of age, there is this thing that is more than a hint, perhaps, of the Messiah's presence, a presence that will kind of carry its way mysteriously through Scripture to its fulfillment in the incarnation, and then reaching all the way to us today. So we're part of that story, and it really made me feel connected kind of all the way back to Job when I was reading those words, especially because I know there has been so much suffering this year, certainly kind of that I have heard of from people that I know and people that I know of, lots of things going on again. So this reminder for me from Job, this seed of faith that he plants is just so gently welcome, that the Redeemer will stand on the earth. Physically, I take that to mean. And that even though Job's flesh will die, nevertheless, he will see him in the flesh. And so we have both the themes of kind of God incarnate and the resurrection of the body shimmering here, gently within the context of deep suffering. And just how brilliant it is. It just makes me laugh that Job seems so adamant that those words in particular should be written down on a scroll, or written with an iron tool on lead, or engraved into rock, and how actually they have reached all the way to us and now find themselves immortalized in Handel's sublime music too, as well as being written on our hearts. And I just think that is so lovely. It's so poetic, really. It's so poetic, and there is something about that, the music of Messiah, and for me in particular, I know that my Redeemer liveth, that just touches somewhere that mere words don't, and we kind of yield to that kind of creativity that flows through that work. And then today we thought about presence, didn't we? And I just love thinking about the fact that we are created somewhere between the animals and the angels, and what that might mean for us if we do kind of take it seriously, that we've been crowned with glory and honor, as Psalm 8 suggests. I really loved Cynthia Bourgeault's little thoughts on what makes us distinct, and it, in a sense, being that power to transform human energy into something good, something sublime, even a song into beauty, a harvest into generosity. What is it that can turn so beautifully through our lives, through our hearts? But we remember too, didn't we, that presence starts with being, as we bring ourselves more fully to this moment, to each other, and to God within it. I did suggest that if you'd like to start a one-line journal that runs through Advent, and you're able to capture a line, you could do something creatively with it. I wonder whether you would be willing to share one line that you've thought of this week. It can either be from the reflections, or just from, anything in your day that you've noticed, that you've written down. It would be lovely just to see a few of those now while we have the chance to be gathered together. I will be inviting you to respond, I think on Monday, with the first RSVPs of the Advent email series. But for now, please write a line in the chat so that we can see some of your journal lines, just one line that captures something from this starting week of Advent. That would be so lovely. It's not asking you to hand in your homework. And they won't be judged. Here I am in your embrace. Thank you, Judith. The darkest skies can help the stars shine brightest. Don't brace yourself, but be embraced. Helen, thank you. Open the door and let the light in. Feel the embrace of wilder weather. Light in the darkness. Hopefulness as I open myself to God each day. Fallen leaves open up a wider vista through these winter days to what was there all along. So true, isn't it? I'm not alone, but loved. Portents of hope. Look up, look out, look in. One word for you, Coral. Clouds. Fleeting. Thank you. Trust the mystery. Loving that. Waiting in hope. Polly, thank you. Good to see you there. We experience the incarnation. God lives in us. Neil Perry, love to you today. Grace embodied between animals and the angels, and so it goes on. Look up. It's never too late for a fresh start. Keep those coming. I would like to read you a poem by the wonderful Canadian poet Luci Shaw, who is 92 years old. And this is a lovely collection of kind of artistic work through Advent, poems, extracts, things like that. Light upon light. It's kind of where I go to for a bit of inspiration. And this poem is called Made Flesh. It's not the easiest poem to read, so I hope I do it justice, but you might like to almost close your eyes and listen to this for a few moments. It really follows on from today's reflection in terms of our presence perhaps being more than we suspect, and through God's kind of humbling himself into becoming human actually opens our humanity up and out. But I'll let Lucy do the talking. Made flesh. After the bright beam of hot annunciation fused heaven with dark earth, his searing, sharply focused light went out for a while, eclipsed in amniotic gloom. His cool immensity of splendor, his universal grace, small folded in a warm, dim female space. The word, stern sentence to be 9 months dumb. Infinity walled in a womb until the next enormity, the mighty, after submission to a woman's pains, helpless on a barn bare floor, first tasting bitter death. Now I in him surrender to the crush and cry of birth, because eternity was closeted in time. He is my open door to forever. From his imprisonment, my freedoms grow, find wings. Part of his body, I transcend this flesh. From his sweet silence, my mouth sings. Out of his dark, I glow. My life, as his, slips through death's mesh, time's bars, joins hands with heaven, speaks with stars. Luci Shaw, Made Flesh. Beautiful, beautiful poem. Shall we together say the Lord's Prayer? And the reason that we do this is because I started these YouTube gatherings first during the first lockdown, and it happened to be on the day when the Pope and the Archbishop of Canterbury, when things were really difficult kind of globally, suggested coming together just to say the Lord's Prayer at a particular time. So we did that on that day, and we've done it ever since, and it kind of links us back in not only to the journey we've traveled over the last 18 months or so together like this, but also of course to of the communion of saints, all the way back to Jesus. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen. Amen. Thank you so much for joining me from wherever you are today. Here we are, starting this journey, and I'm so excited and feel so privileged to be part of a beautiful, creative, loving group like this. I will be back here next Friday. Bring people along, the more the merrier. But you'll get an Advent email from me tomorrow. Just to say about tomorrow's email, usually they're much shorter on a Saturday, just a poem or something like that. Tomorrow's will actually feel longer than a usual weekday, but it's actually split into 7 mini bite-sized sections, which follow the Advent antiphons, those ancient sung prayers that kind of date back all the way to the 7th or 8th century. And I've taken them and just created a little mini reflection around each. And what I'm suggesting is that you take each in turn at different days, at different moments as the day progresses, from sunrise to mid-morning to noon to twilight to evening time to going to bed, and then in the middle of the night if you want to. So I really hope that you enjoy those. And I will be back here next Friday. In the meantime, may from his imprisonment, your freedoms grow, find wings, join hands with heaven, speak with stars. Go well.